poor triplet girls came to clean in place of their sick mother. The millionaire CEO found out and was shocked. Just before we start, this community spans every continent. Drop your city's name if you feel comfortable sharing. The black sedan looked impossibly out of place in the circular driveway of the Reynolds mansion. Emma Mitchell cut the engine and gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles white against the worn leather. "This was a terrible idea," she whispered, staring up at the limestone facade that stretched across her entire field of vision. "We should just call and explain." "And then what?" Olivia snapped from the back seat, already pulling cleaning supplies from their mother's tattered work bag. "Mum needs this job. The hospital bills aren't going to pay themselves." Sarah, the middle triplet by 7 minutes, placed her hand on Emma's shoulder. "Mum's counting on us, Em, we promised." The Mitchell triplets had made many promises in their 25 years. To their father before he died in Afghanistan when they were 12, to each other through foster care when their mother had her first breakdown. And now to Margaret Mitchell, who lay in county hospital with pneumonia that had turned dangerous because she'd worked 3 straight weeks without rest. "We stick together," Emma nodded, finally opening the car door. Like always, the mansion's service entrance loomed before them, a heavy wooden door that seemed to judge them even before they knocked. The groundskeeper had waved them through the gate with barely a glance at their ID, assuming one woman with cleaning supplies was the same as another. "Remember what Mom said," Sarah whispered as they huddled together. "Mr. Reynolds is never home on Tuesdays. We just clean his office, the main floor, and we're out." Emma squared her shoulders. "We've cleaned plenty of houses, just fancier products this time." They entered using the key code their mother had shared, tiptoeing through a kitchen bigger than their entire apartment. The marble countertops gleamed under recessed lighting, and Emma caught Olivia eyeing the professional-grade espresso machine. "Don't even think about it," Emma warned. "We're here to clean, not snoop." They separated with practiced efficiency, Sarah taking the living areas, Olivia handling bathrooms, and Emma heading toward the study. Their mother had emphasized that Mr. Reynolds was particular about his office. Everything had to be dusted, but left exactly in place. Emma pushed open the heavy oak door and gasped. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined 3 walls, while the 4th featured a wall of windows overlooking Connecticut's rolling hills. A massive desk dominated the center, papers arranged in precise stacks. She approached cautiously, feather duster trembling slightly in her hand. The photo caught her eye immediately, a silver frame holding the image of a smiling woman with kind eyes, her arm around a college-aged girl with the same warm smile. Emma recognized loss when she saw it. That particular way people positioned photos of those they missed. "I wouldn't touch that if I were you." The deep voice from the doorway sent the feather duster flying from Emma's hand. She whirled around to face a tall man with silver-streaked dark hair and piercing blue eyes. William Reynolds stood with his arms crossed, expression unreadable. I'm so sorry, sir," Emma stammered, her heart pounding. "We thought you wouldn't be home today." His eyebrow arched. "We?" As if summoned by some triplet telepathy, Sarah and Olivia appeared behind him, equally terrified. William Reynolds looked between the 3 identical faces, momentary confusion giving way to something else. Curiosity. "You're not Margaret," he stated flatly. "No, sir," Emma stepped forward. "I'm Emma Mitchell. These are my sisters, Sarah and Olivia. Our mother is. She's sick," Olivia cut in, chin raised despite her fear. "But she didn't want to lose this job, so we came instead." William's eyes narrowed, studying each sister in turn. "All 3 of you came to cover one person's job." Sarah's soft voice broke the tension. "We promised we wouldn't let her down. We've never cleaned a house like this before, so we thought." "Safety in numbers," William finished, his expression softening almost imperceptibly. He was silent for a long moment, and Emma prepared herself for the worst, being thrown out, their mother losing her job, the desperately needed income gone. Instead, William Reynolds checked his watch and said something completely unexpected. "I'd like to see the 3 of you in the kitchen in 5 minutes." The Mitchell triplets sat rigidly on the edge of pristine bar stools, back straight as William Reynolds prepared coffee with practiced precision. The kitchen's silence was broken only by the gentle hiss of the espresso machine. "How is your mother?" William finally asked, sliding 3 identical cups across the marble countertop. Emma hesitated. "Pneumonia. She's been at county hospital for 3 days." "She didn't want to lose this job," Sarah added softly. "The medical bills are substantial." William nodded thoughtfully, studying the 3 women before him. At 25, they were identical in feature, but distinct in presence. Emma, clearly the leader, met his gaze directly. Sarah's gentle demeanor softened her identical features, while Olivia's defiant energy radiated across the kitchen. "And what do you 3 do when you're not impersonating your mother's cleaning service?" Olivia bristled. "We weren't—" "I'm between jobs," Emma interrupted. "Sarah's a part-time teacher's aide, and Olivia works at the diner on Maple Street." William leaned against the counter. "College?" "We had scholarships," Sarah explained, "but when Mom got sick the first time, we had to drop out," Emma finished. "Family comes first." Something flickered across William's face. Recognition, perhaps. He set down his cup with deliberate care. "I have a proposition for you." The sisters exchanged wary glances. "My executive assistant is on maternity leave. Her temporary replacement quit yesterday. I need someone organized, discreet, and available immediately." He paused. "Or in this case, 3 someones." Emma blinked. "You want to hire us? As your assistants?" "1 position, 3 people," William clarified. "You'd work in shifts. The salary would be considerably more than what your mother earns cleaning." "Houses?" Olivia narrowed her eyes. "Why would you trust us? You don't know us." William's gaze drifted to the window. "Your mother has worked for me for 7 years. She's never taken a sick day, never been late, never complained about my particular requirements for maintaining my home." He turned back to them. "And when she couldn't come, her daughters risked everything rather than let her down." He slid a business card across the counter. "That tells me everything I need to know. Be at this address tomorrow at 7 a.m. We'll try 1 week. If it works, we'll discuss a longer arrangement." After they left, clutching the card like a golden ticket, William returned to his study. He picked up the silver frame Emma had been looking at, his late wife Caroline and their daughter Ellie at her high school graduation, the last photo they'd taken before the accident. He traced Caroline's smile with his finger. "They remind me of her," he whispered to the empty room. "That same determination." The phone rang, interrupting his thoughts. The caller ID displayed Princeton Medical Research. William hesitated, then answered. "Reynolds. Yes, I received the email." "No, I haven't decided yet." He glanced again at the photograph, his jaw tightening. "Some things are more important than business, Doctor, even for me." The Reynolds Financial Group headquarters occupied 30 floors of gleaming steel and glass in downtown Hartford. Emma straightened her only blazer, purchased second-hand and hastily tailored overnight, and led her sisters through revolving doors into the marble-floored lobby. "Remember, we're professional, capable, and confident," she whispered. "And grateful." "For the opportunity," Sarah added. "But not desperate," Olivia countered. "Never desperate." The security guard directed them to the executive elevator. As they ascended to the 30th floor, Sarah clutched Emma's hand. "What if we can't do this?" "We don't know anything about being executive assistants," Emma squeezed back. "We've survived. Worse, besides, between the 3 of us, we'll figure it out." The elevator doors opened directly into a reception area, where a stern-faced woman in her 50s looked up from her desk. "The Mitchell sisters, I presume?" It wasn't a question. "I'm Vivian Hartley, Mr. Reynolds' chief of staff." "You're 7. A minute's early." "Good." Vivian led them on a brisk tour, pointing out the executive boardroom, conference rooms, and finally, a large office adjacent to William's. "This will be your workspace. Mr. Reynolds expects his assistant to manage his calendar, screen calls, coordinate with department heads, and handle personal matters requiring discretion." Her expression made it clear she found them lacking. "The previous temp lasted exactly 4 days. Mr. Reynolds can be demanding." "We can handle demanding," Olivia said. Vivian's tight smile didn't reach her eyes. "We'll see. He's in a meeting until 9. I suggest you familiarize yourselves with the systems before then." After she left, Emma turned to her sisters. "Divide and conquer. Sarah, you're best with people. Learn the phone system and calendar. Olivia, you're fastest with computers. Figure out the email and files. I'll review any current projects." By 9, they'd established a basic understanding of the role. When William arrived, he seemed surprised to find them already working. "Good morning, Mr. Reynolds," they said in unison, causing him to pause momentarily. "Who's staying for the morning shift?" "I am." Emma stepped forward. "We thought I'd work mornings, Sarah afternoons, and Olivia evenings when needed." William nodded approvingly. "Smart. Follow me." In his office, William outlined his expectations while Emma took meticulous notes. The job was more complex than anticipated. They weren't just managing his schedule, but serving as gatekeepers to one of Connecticut's most powerful men. "One more thing," William said as Emma turned to leave. "The Parker merger documents need to be on my desk by noon. Vivian knows where they are." When Emma approached Vivian for the Parker files, the older woman's smile turned predatory. "Oh, those documents are at the off-site storage facility. You'll need to take a cab across town." She glanced at her watch. "If you leave now, you might make it back by noon." Might. Emma recognized the power play immediately. "Thank you, Miss Hartley," she replied evenly. "But before I go, Mr. Reynolds asked me to review the building directory. Is the Reynolds archive still on the 4th floor? Or has it moved since this was printed?" Vivian's smile faltered. "It's still on 4. 20 minutes later, Emma returned to William's office with the Parker documents, having found them exactly where she'd suspected, in the building's archive room. William looked up, surprised. "That was fast." "I believe in efficiency, Mr. Reynolds." For the first time, she sought genuine approval in his eyes. So did my wife. As Emma turned to leave, she noticed a medical journal open on his desk. The heading read, "Experimental Treatments for Aggressive Lymphoma, Phase 3 Trials." William quickly closed the journal, but not before Emma glimpsed a highlighted name. Dr. Elizabeth Chen, Principal Researcher. She filed the information away, wondering why the CEO of a financial group was researching cancer treatments and why. His hands trembled as he did so. Sarah's afternoon shift began with a crisis. The Mitchell apartment's ancient plumbing had finally surrendered, flooding their downstairs neighbor. The landlord's ultimatum was clear: pay for repairs or face eviction. "Another 1,000 we don't have," Sarah whispered into her phone, hiding in the supply closet during her break. "How's Mom today?" "Same," Emma replied. "The doctor wants to run more tests, says her recovery is slower than expected." Sarah closed her eyes, fighting tears. Their savings were depleted, and their mother's medical leave pay wouldn't cover even half of their mounting expenses. "We'll figure it out," Emma assured her. "We always do." Sarah composed herself before returning to the executive suite. She wouldn't let her sisters down, not when this job could be their financial salvation. William emerged from his office as she settled at her desk. "Sarah," he acknowledged her with a nod. "I have the Chen Foundation meeting at 3. I'll need the quarterly reports." Sarah froze. Emma hadn't mentioned any reports in their shift change notes. "Of course, Mr. Reynolds, I'll have them ready." After he disappeared into a conference room, Sarah frantically searched the computer system. Nothing under Chen Foundation. She tried quarterly reports with no success. Panic rising, she considered calling Emma, but her pride wouldn't allow it. Instead, she approached Vivian, swallowing her trepidation. "Ms. Hartley, could you point me toward the Chen Foundation quarterly reports?" Vivian smiled thinly. "That's not something we prepare here. The Chen Foundation is Mr. Reynolds' personal charity. He handles those reports himself." Confused but relieved, Sarah returned to her desk. When William emerged from his meeting, she approached him. "Mr. Reynolds, about those quarterly reports." "I have them here," he interrupted, patting his briefcase. "It's a personal matter." He hesitated, then added, "The Chen Foundation was my wife's project. After she died, I continued it. It funds medical research." The unexpected personal revelation surprised Sarah. "That's admirable." "It's necessary," he corrected, his voice suddenly distant. "Have the car brought around. I'll be at Princeton Medical Sent her until evening. After William left, Sarah noticed an incoming call from County Hospital on the office line. Thinking it concerned their mother, she answered quickly. Reynolds Financial Group. This is Dr. Morris from Oncology. I'm returning Mr. Reynolds' call about the patient in room 302. Sarah's confusion must have transmitted through her silence. Is Mr. Reynolds available? The doctor prompted. He's in meetings all afternoon, Sarah improvised. May I take a message? Just let him know the treatment is proceeding as expected, but we're monitoring the side effects closely. After hanging up, Sarah sat very still, processing what she'd learned. Room 302 was just down the hall from their mother. When Olivia arrived for the evening shift, Sarah shared her discoveries. He's funding cancer research and visiting someone at County. I think someone close to him is sick, really sick. Olivia's eyes widened. The same hospital as Mom, that's weird. Maybe it's just coincidence, Sarah mused, but he seemed different when he mentioned his charity. Almost vulnerable. William Reynolds vulnerable, Olivia scoffed. The man's worth billions, people like that don't have real problems. But late that evening, as Olivia prepared to leave, William returned looking exhausted, his customary commanding presence diminished. When he thought himself unobserved, his shoulders sagged with the unmistakable weight of profound worry. Olivia's phone chimed with a text from Emma. Mum's fever spiked. Doctors want to try stronger antibiotics. Insurance denied. $4,200. As Olivia stared at the message, William appeared in the doorway. Is everything all right? He asked. Olivia looked up, suddenly seeing him not as a billionaire CEO, but as another human being carrying an invisible burden. Just family stuff, she answered. Nothing I can't handle. William studied her for a moment. Sometimes the strongest thing we can do is accept help when it's offered. Is that what you do? The question slipped out before she could stop it. His smile held no humor. No. But perhaps we're both overdue to learn that lesson. As Olivia left the building, she noticed William's car still in the parking garage. The driver stood beside it, looking concerned. Is Mr. Reynolds coming soon? She asked. The driver shook his head. He cancelled, said he's going to the hospital instead. Emma arrived early the next morning to find William already in his office, wearing the same clothes as yesterday. The dark circles under his eyes suggested he hadn't slept. Coffee, he said by way of greeting, and reschedule everything before noon. While fetching his coffee, Emma overheard Vivian on the phone. He spent all night at the hospital again. This can't continue. The board is already questioning his focus. A pause. Of course I care about Ellie, but... Vivian spotted Emma and abruptly ended her call. Later, when Emma delivered reports to William's office, she noticed a medical file partially hidden beneath financial statements. The tab read, Reynolds Eleanor, Stage 4 Eleanor, the daughter from the photograph. The intercom buzzed. Mr. Reynolds, the board members are assembled in the conference room. William straightened his tie, his CEO mask sliding back into place. This meeting could run long. Order lunch for everyone. As Emma handled the lunch order, her phone rang, County Hospital. Her mother had developed complications and needed surgery immediately. The cost, $12,000, most uncovered by insurance. Emma stepped into the empty stairwell, panic overwhelming her. Even with their new salaries, they couldn't manage such an amount on short notice. When she returned to her desk, she found a sealed envelope with her name written in elegant script. Inside was a check for $15,000 and a note, for your mother's care, not charity, an advance. Stunned, Emma looked toward the conference room where William sat with the board, apparently focused on the presentation. But how had he known? The answer came when she spotted Sarah entering the building. They hadn't crossed paths in days with their staggered shifts. Did you tell Mr. Reynolds about Mom's surgery? Emma asked. Sarah shook her head. I haven't spoken to him about Mom at all. Then how did he know she needs surgery? And the exact amount? Sarah hesitated. Emma, I think his daughter is at County, in the oncology ward. Eleanor, Emma whispered, the name from the file suddenly making sense. She has stage 4 cancer. The conference room door opened and board members filed out. William remained. Inside, now joined by Vivian and an older man Emma recognized from business publications as James Harrington, the board chairman. Through the glass walls, she could see their heated discussion. William's normally controlled demeanor had cracked, his gestures uncharacteristically animated. "This is about the Princeton trials," Sarah whispered. "The experimental treatment for his daughter." "How do you know that?" "Because I've been researching it since I took that call. It's a new immunotherapy for advanced lymphoma. Incredibly expensive and not covered by any insurance. The Chen Foundation is funding the research, but the board controls the corporate donations." Emma watched as William slammed his hand on the table. "They're refusing to release the funds," she realized. James Harrington stormed out, passing their desk without acknowledgement. Vivian followed, her expression troubled. "Family charity is one thing," she muttered to herself. "Risking the company's stability is another." William emerged last, his composure restored, but his eyes burning with quiet fury. "Cancel my afternoon," he instructed Emma, "and find everything you can on James Harrington's voting record on the philanthropic committee for the past 5 years. As William disappeared into his private elevator, Emma and Sarah exchanged meaningful glances. "He's fighting for his daughter," Sarah said softly. Emma fingered the check in her pocket, the exact amount their mother needed, "and now we're going to help him." Olivia paced the hospital corridor, watching through the observation window as her mother slept peacefully following her surgery. The procedure had been successful, a miracle made possible by William Reynolds' timely advance. "You look like her." Olivia turned to find William standing nearby, his attention focused on a different room across the hall, room 302. Through its window, Olivia glimpsed a young woman, perhaps 22, her head wrapped in a colorful scarf, face gaunt but unmistakably similar to the girl in William's silver-framed photograph. "Your daughter?" Olivia asked quietly. William nodded. "Eleanor, Ellie." His voice held a tenderness Olivia had never heard at the office. "Diagnosed 14 months ago. The standard treatments failed. This experimental protocol is her last chance." "I'm sorry," Olivia said, meaning it. "Your sisters figured it out." "Didn't they?" William asked. "That's why you're not surprised to see me here." "They're the smart ones," Olivia admitted. "I'm just the stubborn one." William almost smiled. "Stubbornness has its uses. It's kept Ellie fighting when the doctors said to prepare for the worst." They stood in companionable silence, two people united in their vigil for loved ones. "Why did you help us?" Olivia finally asked. "You barely know us." William's gaze remained on his daughter. "Because 17 years ago, when my wife was diagnosed, we had no money, no insurance, and 3 jobs between us. A stranger helped us then. I never forgot." Olivia processed this revelation. "You weren't always rich." "No, the wealth came later after." He trailed off. "Caroline founded the Chen Foundation before she died, named after the doctor who gave us those extra years together. She made me promise to help others facing impossible choices between treatment and financial ruin." The elevator chimed, and James Harrington stepped out, his face darkening at the sight of William. "I thought I'd find you here instead of at the emergency board meeting," Harrington said coldly. "The vote proceeded without you. The company will not fund unproven treatments, regardless of personal considerations." William's expression hardened. "You had no right." "We had every right," Harrington interrupted. "Reynolds Financial Group isn't your personal bank account. The board has a responsibility to shareholders. The Chen Foundation has never taken a cent of corporate money," William replied, his voice dangerously calm. "Until now, it's been funded entirely from my personal accounts." "Which are nearly depleted," Harrington countered. "Don't think we haven't noticed the assets you've liquidated. You're risking everything. Your position, the company's stability, your future, on a treatment with a 17% success rate." "I'd risk everything for even a 1% chance," William said simply. Harrington shook his head. "The board has lost confidence in your judgment. We're invoking Article 7. The color drained from William's face. "You're removing me as CEO?" "Temporarily," Harrington clarified. "A 3-month leave of absence. For your own good, William." After Harrington departed, William stood motionless, the full weight of what had happened settling over him. "What will happen to Ellie's treatment?" Olivia asked. "Without the Foundation's support, the trial will continue, but Ellie's participation..." He swallowed hard. I have some personal assets left. It might be enough. Olivia watched him struggle to maintain composure. This wasn't the commanding CEO she'd first met, but a father facing his worst fear. She made a decision. "Mr. Reynolds," she said firmly, "I think it's time you met my sisters properly. All of us together." William looked puzzled. "Why?" Olivia smiled grimly. "Because when the Mitchell triplets put their heads together, impossible problems have a way of becoming possible again." As they walked toward her mother's room, Olivia added, "Besides, we owe you a debt now." "And Mitchells always pay their debts." William stopped abruptly. "Mitchell," he repeated, something like recognition dawning in his eyes. "Your mother's name is Margaret Mitchell." "Yes," Olivia confirmed, confused by his reaction. "Why?" William stared at her as though seeing a ghost. "Because 17 years ago, the stranger who helped my family was a nurse named Margaret Mitchell." The hospital cafeteria buzzed with fluorescent lights and hushed conversations as William joined the Mitchell triplets at a corner table. Margaret's recovery room had become their impromptu war room, with their mother drifting in and out of medicated sleep as they plotted. "It can't be coincidence," Emma said, spreading out the notes they'd gathered. "Mom never mentioned helping your family." William stirred his untouched coffee. "It was a difficult time. Caroline, my wife, was diagnosed with the same aggressive lymphoma Ellie has now. We were living paycheck to paycheck. I was finishing my MBA while working nights as a security guard. And Mom was a nurse at Princeton," Sarah filled in. "The pieces connecting. She worked double shifts in oncology," William confirmed. "When Caroline's insurance denied coverage for an experimental treatment, your mother," his voice faltered, "she organized a fundraiser among the hospital staff, anonymously, covered what we couldn't raise. That treatment gave Caroline 5 more years, enough time to see Ellie start high school, enough time for me to build Reynolds Financial from nothing." Olivia leaned forward. "But you never knew it was Mom specifically?" "I knew her name, tried to pay her back once I had means, but she'd transferred to county hospital by then. I lost track." William's expression darkened. "Until I hired a Margaret Mitchell as my housekeeper 7 years ago. The name registered, but she looked different. Life had been hard on her, and she never mentioned our past connection." "Mom wouldn't," Sarah said softly. "She never talks about the people she helps." The revelation hung between them, 2 families connected by acts of kindness, now facing similar battles 17 years apart. "None of this solves our immediate problem," Emma redirected pragmatically. "The board has sidelined you, and Ellie needs that treatment." William's jaw tightened. "Harrington's been waiting years for this opportunity. He opposed the merger that quadrupled our market share, called my leadership recklessly innovative. This is about more than Ellie's treatment. It's about the soul of the company Caroline and I built." "Then we fight on both fronts," Emma decided. "For Ellie and for your company." "How?" William asked. "I'm legally removed from operations for 3 months. By then..." He didn't finish the sentence. "By then, Ellie might not have 3 months." "We need leverage," Olivia said, her years of street smarts surfacing. "Something Harrington wants or fears." Sarah, who'd been quietly reviewing the company documents they'd gathered, looked up suddenly. "I think I found something," she said, highlighting a section of the board minutes from 2 years prior. "Harrington fought against funding the Chen Foundation from the beginning, long before Ellie got sick. His objection seems personal." William frowned. "James and I have had our differences, but nothing that explains this level of obstruction." "Then we dig deeper," Emma decided. "Starting now." As they outlined their plan, William studied the 3 determined women before him. In their different ways, each reflected qualities of their mother, the compassion that had saved his family once. Before, Margaret stirred in her hospital bed, eyes fluttering open. "Willie Reynolds," she murmured, recognition dawning through the medication haze. "You finally made something of yourself." William moved to her side, clasping her frail hand. "Thanks to you, Margaret." She smiled weakly. "I always knew you would. That's why I helped. Some people just need a fighting chance." Her words hung in the air long after she drifted back to sleep, a challenge and a blessing. Outside in the corridor, William made a call. Lawrence, it's Reynolds. Remember that contingency plan we discussed? Implement it immediately. He paused, watching the Mitchell sisters through the window as they continued strategizing. And add 3 names to the emergency authorization. List Emma, Sarah, and Olivia Mitchell. When he rejoined them, his expression had transformed from defeated to determined. Harrington thinks he's won, William said, but he's forgotten the first rule I established at Reynolds Financial. Which is? Emma asked. William's smile held no warmth. Never bet against a parent fighting for their child. The Mitchell apartment became command central over the next 48 hours. Despite their mother's improving condition, the sisters took turns at the hospital, both for Margaret and to check on Ellie, who had quickly warmed to their visits. Dad says you're helping him with a work problem, Ellie mentioned to Sarah during an afternoon visit, her thin fingers arranging chess pieces on a travel board. Must be serious, he never brings work to the hospital. Sarah carefully moved a knight. It's complicated, board politics, Ellie snorted, the sound incongruously youthful in her frail body. Harrington, right? Dad's too nice to say it, but that man's had it out for him for years. She captured Sarah's knight with a precise move. Ever since Mum died, Sarah's attention sharpened. What do you mean? Ellie shrugged, then winced at the movement. They were friends once, Mom, Dad, and Harrington, before I was born. Dad doesn't talk about it, but I found old photos. Her eyes, so like William's, held a wisdom beyond her years. 3 people that close. Something happened. Back at the apartment, Sarah shared this revelation with her sisters and William. Ellie's right, William admitted, pacing their small living room. James, Caroline, and I were inseparable in business school. Caroline and I were dating, but James... He hesitated. James was in love with her, too. Let me guess, Olivia interjected. She chose you. William nodded. We all remained friends. James was even my best man. But when Caroline got sick the first time, something changed. He became obsessed with finding her treatment options, alternative therapies, anything. When she recovered temporarily, he took credit for connecting us with specialists. And when she ultimately died, Emma asked gently. He blamed me, William said simply. Said I'd chosen a riskier treatment path than the one he'd recommended. We didn't speak for years after that. By the time he joined Reynolds Financial, it was strictly professional between us. Emma processed this information, so his opposition to the Chen Foundation is personal, William confirmed. He sees it as Caroline's legacy, something that should be his to control. And now Ellie has the same cancer, Sarah realized. It's not just about the company for him, it's about rewriting the past. William's phone chimed with an incoming message. He read it, his expression darkening. Lawrence can't access the contingency funds. Harrington's changed the security protocols. Emma reviewed their dwindling options. We need to approach this differently. Harrington's not just opposing you. He's trying to save Ellie his way, prove he was right 17 years ago. Which means, Olivia added, he might have an alternative treatment plan in mind. But Ellie's doctors say this trial is her best option, William objected. Sarah, who'd been quietly reviewing medical journals on her laptop, looked up. There's another trial at Mayo Clinic. Different approach, slightly lower success rates, but established funding. That must be Harrington's play, Emma concluded. He's blocking the Princeton trial not to harm Ellie, but to force a transfer to Mayo, where his guidance, not yours, would determine her care, Olivia finished. William sat heavily on their worn couch, the weight of realization crushing him. This isn't about money or corporate governance. It's about Caroline. It's always been about Caroline. Then we use that, Emma decided, a plan forming. If Harrington's motivations are personal rather than professional, we need to separate those battlegrounds. Outside their window, Hartford's lights glimmered as evening descended, the Reynolds Financial Tower dominating the skyline. In her hospital room across town, Ellie fought for each breath. And somewhere between those 2 points, James Harrington sat at the center of a web 17 years in the making. I won't risk Ellie's care becoming a corporate battleground, William said firmly. You won't have to, Emma promised, because we're going to give Harrington exactly what he wants and use that against him. 3 days later, Emma stood beside William in Ellie's hospital room as Dr. Elizabeth Chen, the daughter of the physician who had treated Caroline years ago, delivered devastating news. The latest scan shows progression despite preliminary treatment, Dr. Chen explained gently, without full participation in the trial, including the personalized immunotherapy components. She didn't need to finish. William gripped the bed rail, knuckles white. How long? Weeks, possibly a month, Dr. Chen answered, her professional composure cracking slightly. I'm so sorry, William. If we could bypass the funding restrictions, I understand, William interrupted. Thank you, Elizabeth. After the doctor left, Ellie stirred from her medicated sleep. Dad, what's wrong? William forced a smile. Nothing, sweetheart, just discussing options. Ellie's gaze, sharp despite her condition, shifted to Emma. The truth, please. I'm dying anyway, might as well be informed about it. Emma glanced at William, who nodded almost imperceptibly. The treatment is stalled, Emma explained, sitting beside Ellie. Financial complications. Ellie absorbed this with remarkable calm. Harrington? Yes, William admitted. Then transfer me to Mayo, Ellie said decisively. That's what he wants, right? His preferred treatment path. William looked stricken. Ellie, the success rates are irrelevant if I can't access the Princeton trial, she finished. I'm a business. Major, Dad. I understand leveraging assets. Her attempt at a wry smile broke Emma's heart. In this case, me. Later, in the corridor outside, William collapsed into a chair, head in his hands. She's sacrificing her best chance to resolve my professional conflict, he said hoarsely. I can't let her do that. Emma sat beside him. Maybe it's not a sacrifice. Maybe it's a strategy. William looked up, desperate hope flickering. Explain. Harrington wants control. Over Ellie's treatment, over the company, over Caroline's legacy, Emma reasoned. What if we let him think he's won? The transfer to Mayo gives us time. My sisters and I have been researching the Reynolds financial bylaws. There's a provision for emergency shareholder action under specific conditions. The founder's clause, William nodded. But it requires 3/4 shareholder approval within 72 hours. Impossible to organize that quickly. Unless, Emma countered, those shareholders were already gathered for another purpose, like the annual charity gala next week. William's expression shifted from despair to calculation. The event Caroline started. Every major shareholder attends out of tradition. Exactly, Emma confirmed. We give Harrington his public victory with Ellie's transfer, then use the gala to trigger the clause and reinstate you. Could work, William admitted. But Ellie's transfer to Mayo isn't just strategy, it's her life. The Mayo trial is good, but the Princeton protocol is still her best chance, Emma finished, which is why we're not actually transferring. Her to Mayo, William stared. What? Sarah's been coordinating with Dr. Chen, Emma explained. There's a way to officially transfer Ellie while keeping her on a modified version of the Princeton protocol, disguised as preparation for Mayo. It buys us the week we need. For the first time in days, genuine hope lit William's eyes. That's brilliant. It's risky, Emma cautioned. If Harrington discovers the deception before the shareholder vote, he won't, William said firmly, because I'm going to give him exactly what he's always wanted, which is public acknowledgement of his importance to Caroline. William's expression hardened with resolve. I'm going to tell the world that James Harrington was the man who saved my wife's life 17 years ago. The grand ballroom of the Hartford Plaza Hotel glittered with crystal chandeliers and the calculated charm of the wealthy. Reynolds Financial Group's annual charity gala, established by Caroline Reynolds 18 years earlier, had transformed from a modest fundraiser into Connecticut's premier social event. Sarah and Olivia, dressed in borrowed gowns, flanked the entrance, checking guest credentials against their list of Reynolds financial shareholders. Emma remained at the hospital with Ellie, monitoring her condition while coordinating with them via text. Harrington just arrived, Olivia murmured into her concealed microphone. With reinforcements. William, resplendent in a tuxedo that couldn't quite hide his exhaustion, nodded almost imperceptibly from across the room where he chatted with board members. The plan was in motion. Earlier that day, William had held a press conference announcing Ellie's transfer to Mayo Clinic's experimental program. thanks to the guidance of my trusted advisor and friend, James Harrington. The business press had feasted on the story. William Reynolds, sidelined CEO, publicly supporting the board's decision and crediting Harrington with saving his daughter. Harrington had accepted the victory with practiced humility, even visiting Ellie's hospital room to discuss the Mayo transfer scheduled for the following morning. What he didn't know was that Ellie remained secretly enrolled in a modified version of the Princeton trial, or that tonight's seemingly conciliatory gala was actually an ambush. "Is everything in place?" William asked softly as he passed Sarah. "Yes," she confirmed. 71% of shareholders accounted for. We need just 4% more." William nodded. "Margaret?" Mom insisted on coming. "She's at the side entrance with Emma now." The orchestra began a new piece as James Harrington made his way to the podium. As acting CEO, he would deliver the traditional opening remarks and present the Foundation's annual gift to medical research. "Distinguished guests," Harrington began, his confidence evident. "For 18 years, the Chen Foundation has represented Reynolds Financial's commitment to fighting the diseases that touch all our lives. Tonight, that mission has special resonance for us all." As Harrington continued, Sarah noticed a commotion at the entrance. Emma had arrived, helping their mother into the ballroom. Margaret Mitchell looked frail but determined, her nurse's uniform replaced by a simple blue dress. "What's happening?" Sarah whispered urgently into her microphone. "Mum's supposed to wait for the signal." "Change of plans," Emma's voice crackled back. "Ellie found something. We have to move now." Across the room, William saw Margaret enter and tensed visibly. This wasn't the plan. Harrington was still speaking, building toward the announcement of this year's grant recipient, Mayo Clinic's lymphoma. Research Division, a calculated move to justify Ellie's transfer. Then Margaret Mitchell did something no one expected. She walked directly to the stage, Emma supporting her elbow. "James," Margaret said clearly, her voice cutting through the shocked silence. "It's time to tell the truth." Harrington froze, recognition and then fear washing over his features. "Margaret, what are you—" 17 years ago, she continued, addressing the confused audience, Caroline Reynolds was dying. Her husband William was working 3 jobs to pay for experimental treatments, and James Harrington, their dearest friend, promised to help. William moved toward the stage, confusion evident. This wasn't part of their strategy to trigger the Founder's Clause. "The fundraiser that saved Caroline's life wasn't organized by me," Margaret continued. "It was organized by James. He raised nearly every dollar, worked tirelessly connecting specialists. But he made me promise never to tell William or Caroline. He said the only thing that mattered was saving her life." Murmurs spread through the ballroom as shareholders exchanged glances. Harrington stood paralyzed at the podium. "What Margaret doesn't know," Emma added, stepping forward, "is why James demanded secrecy. We found Caroline's journals in Ellie's things." She held up a leather-bound book. "Caroline knew, James. She discovered what you'd done, how you'd helped anonymously, and she knew why." Emma opened the journal to a marked page. She wrote, "James loves me too much to let me go, but loves William too much to come between us. His silent sacrifice breaks my heart, but gives me strength to fight." The ballroom fell completely silent. William stared at Harrington, decades of misunderstanding crumbling between them. "You didn't oppose the treatment that ultimately failed Caroline," William realized aloud. "You blamed yourself for not finding something better." Harrington's composure finally broke. "I promised her I'd always protect you both. When Ellie got sick with the same cancer, I couldn't let you make the same choices, couldn't watch you suffer that loss again. The Mayo Protocol is safer, William, tested. But it's not what Ellie wants," William countered gently, "and it wasn't your decision to make. Not 17 years ago, and not now." Margaret stepped forward, her nurse's authority evident despite her weakened state. "Caroline treasured both of you. She wouldn't want this fight." As the truth washed over the gathered shareholders, Sarah signaled the board secretary. "We have 83%, she whispered. "The Founder's Clause can be invoked." But William raised his hand, stopping her. "No, there's a better way." He walked to the podium, standing shoulder to shoulder with the man who had been both his greatest friend and most determined adversary. "Tonight," William announced, Reynolds Financial recommits to its founding principle that business serves humanity, not the reverse. James and I will co-chair the Chen Foundation, directing all necessary resources to both the Princeton and Mayo protocols. He turned to Harrington. Caroline would want us to work together, for Ellie, for all the families. Facing what we faced, Harrington's resistance crumbled as decades of guilt and love and rivalry collapsed into this moment of truth. "The board votes tomorrow on reinstating you," he said quietly. "I'll support it." As applause filled the ballroom, William's phone vibrated with a text from Dr. Chen. Initial response to modified protocol promising. Ellie asking for her dad and her new friends. Winter sunlight streamed through the windows of County Hospital's rehabilitation wing as Margaret Mitchell took hesitant steps between parallel bars, her daughters offering encouragement from either side. "That's it, Mom," Emma urged. 3. More steps. "I'm not an invalid," Margaret grumbled, though her proud smile betrayed her pleasure at their attention. Across the rehabilitation gym, Ellie Reynolds worked with her own physical therapist, rebuilding strength after 2 months of intensive treatment. Though still thin, color had returned to her cheeks, and recent scans showed remarkable improvement. William entered, carrying coffee cups for the adults and hot chocolate for Ellie. The past 6 weeks had transformed him, still the commanding CEO who had been unanimously reinstated by the board, but softer somehow, the sharp edges worn away by crisis and redemption. "Margaret, you're walking," he exclaimed. "Of course I'm walking," she retorted. "Can't let your daughter show me up." The easy camaraderie between the families had developed naturally during their parallel recoveries. Margaret's revelation at the gala had not only healed the rift between William and Harrington, but had opened space for other truths as well. "The doctor says I can return to work next week," Margaret announced. "Part-time." The Mitchell sisters exchanged glances. "About that," Emma began carefully. "We've been talking—" "Plotting, you mean," Margaret interrupted. "I know that look." Sarah laughed. "We think it's time you retired from cleaning houses." "And do what? Sit around watching game shows all day?" "No, thank you." "Actually," William interjected, "I had a thought about that. The Chen Foundation needs an executive director, someone with medical knowledge, compassion, and no tolerance for nonsense." Margaret blinked in surprise. "Me? Run a multi-million-dollar foundation? I'm—" "A nurse, Willie, not an administrator. You're the woman who coordinated impossible care for strangers," William countered, "who raised 3 remarkable daughters alone, who navigated the medical system better than any professional I've ever met. And," Ellie added, wheeling herself, "However, you're the only person besides Dad who doesn't treat me like I might break." Margaret's eyes glistened. "I'd need help." "That's where we come in," Emma said. "The foundation would be our focus too." The Mitchell sisters had discovered their unique strengths during the crisis: Emma's strategic thinking, Sarah's empathy and communication skills, Olivia's fierce determination. Together with William and the newly supportive Harrington, they had not only saved Ellie's access to treatment, but had expanded the foundation's reach to dozens of other families facing similar circumstances. "A family enterprise," William mused. Caroline would have loved that. Later, as Margaret rested and the sisters gathered their belongings, William drew Emma aside. "There's something else I wanted to discuss with you. All of you, actually." He led them to the hospital cafeteria, where James Harrington waited, looking both nervous and determined. "The board has approved a new division," William explained. "Reynolds Compassionate Care, providing financial navigation services to patients facing catastrophic illness. We want you 3 to run it," Harrington added, starting immediately. The sisters stared in shock. "But we don't have business degrees," Sarah protested. "Our education can be completed while you work," William assured her. "The company will cover tuition." "Why us?" Olivia asked bluntly. Harrington smiled ruefully. "Because you 3 accomplished in 1 week what William and I couldn't manage in 17 years. You reminded us what Reynolds Financial was founded to be. Caroline believed business could be a force for good," William continued. "You 3 proved her right." As the sisters considered this life-changing opportunity, Ellie texted from her therapy session, "Whatever Dad's offering, say yes." Trust me, Emma laughed, showing her sisters the message. I think we're being managed by a 22-year-old. A very wise 22-year-old, William corrected. So, what do you say? The Mitchell triplets shared a look, that silent communication, honed through years of facing the world together. We say yes, Emma answered for them all, but on one condition. Name it, William and Harrington responded simultaneously. Emma smiled. Our mother gets the final word on all policy decisions. She's been navigating this broken system for decades. Her experience matters. William extended his hand. Done. As they sealed the agreement, Emma reflected on how completely their lives had transformed in just 8 weeks. From struggling to pay rent to heading a corporate division, from strangers to family. Outside the window, the first snow of December began to fall, coating Hartford in pristine white. Across town, the Reynolds Financial Tower stood illuminated against the darkening sky, its top floors outlining the shape of a heart, the corporation's new logo unveiled at the gala. You know, Sarah said softly, when we took Mom's cleaning job that day, I never imagined. That's the thing about life, William replied, watching Ellie laugh with her therapist. Sometimes the most important doorways look just like ordinary cleaning closets. Or hospital rooms, Olivia added. Or boardrooms, Harrington contributed. The question, Emma concluded, is whether we're brave enough to walk through them when they appear. As if in answer, the hospital intercom announced the end of visiting hours. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new opportunities, new doors to walk through. Together. 1 year later, snow blanketed the Mitchell family cabin in the Berkshires. A Christmas gift from William after the success of Reynolds' compassionate care had exceeded everyone's expectations. Inside, a fire crackled in the stone hearth as Margaret hung the final ornament on the towering pine tree. Perfect, she declared, stepping back to admire their work. The cabin's great room buzzed with activity. Sarah was arranging gifts while Olivia argued good-naturedly with Harrington about expansion plans for the Foundation's newest initiative. Emma and William sat at the rustic dining table, reviewing year-end reports. 1,200 families assisted, Emma noted. 4 times our initial projection. William nodded, the silver in his hair catching the firelight. Caroline always said one act of kindness creates ripples we can't imagine. The door burst open, bringing a swirl of snowflakes and Ellie's laughter. It's beautiful out there, she exclaimed, cheeks flushed with health as she shed her coat. The experimental treatment had worked better than anyone dared hope, her cancer in full remission for 6 months now. Anyone hungry? Dr. Elizabeth Chen called from the kitchen, where she was preparing dinner with her new husband, Lawrence, William's former assistant. Their extended family had grown organically over the months. William and Margaret, the Mitchell, triplets Ellie, Harrington, Elizabeth and Lawrence, even Vivian, who had eventually become one of the Foundation's most dedicated volunteers. Before we eat, William announced, I have something to share. He retrieved an old leather portfolio from his briefcase. When I was clearing out my home office last week, I found Caroline's original notes for the Chen Foundation. The room quieted as he gently unfolded yellowed papers. The final page was a letter I'd never seen, William continued, his voice thick, with emotion. Dated 3 days before she died, he began to read, My dearest William, when you find this, I'll be gone, but what we've built together will remain. The Foundation isn't just about medical research. It's about recognizing how lives intersect in ways we never anticipate. The nurse who helped us, Margaret Mitchell, embodies this truth. Her compassion saved us twice. First, through the fundraiser. She facilitated, and again when she donated her rare blood type during my emergency surgery. William paused, his hands trembling. Margaret gasped softly. What Margaret doesn't know, William continued reading, is that her donation did more than save my life temporarily. Tests showed her blood contains a unique antibody pattern, the same pattern our researchers have been studying for potential immunotherapy treatments. I've arranged for her sample to be preserved in our research database under codename Phoenix. The room fell silent as the implications dawned on everyone. Are you saying? Emma began. William looked up, tears streaming freely. The Princeton trial that saved Ellie's life. The immunotherapy protocol. It was developed using Margaret's blood donation from 17 years ago as a foundational template. Margaret's hand flew to her mouth. I never knew the donation was special. They just said Caroline needed a rare type, which you shared, William finished. Your blood cells helped create the treatment that ultimately saved my daughter's life. The Mitchell family saved us twice. No, 3 times counting your daughter's intervention last year. Ellie moved to Margaret's side, taking her hand. My life exists because of you. Twice over. That's not all, Elizabeth added softly. The antibody pattern in Margaret's blood. We've isolated what makes it unique. The new treatment protocol we're developing might help thousands. Harrington, who had been uncharacteristically quiet, finally spoke. Caroline knew. Somehow she knew your paths would cross again. That's why she made me promise to hire any Mitchell who ever applied for a position at Reynolds Financial, William admitted. I never connected the dots until now, as the implications settled over the gathered family. Sarah wiped away tears. Mom always said there are no coincidences, only patterns we haven't recognized yet. Outside, snow continued to fall, each unique crystal part of a greater pattern. Inside, these once strangers, now family, embodied the truth of Sarah's words. After dinner, as they gathered around the fire with cups of hot chocolate, William raised his mug. 2 patterns. 2 second chances, Harrington added. 2 family, the Mitchell triplets said in unison. Margaret, seated in the place of honor, smiled at the gathering. 2 ordinary miracles, she offered, the kind that happen every day when we choose kindness. Later, as midnight approached and most had retired to their rooms, Emma found William on the porch watching the snowfall. You knew, didn't you? She asked quietly. About Mum's blood, before you found Caroline's letter. William nodded slowly. I suspected. The timeline matched too perfectly, but the letter confirmed it. Why didn't you tell us immediately? Some gifts need the right moment, he answered simply. Margaret gave without expectation of return. That deserved to be honored properly. Emma considered this. The greatest gifts often come from unlikely sources, and at unexpected times, William agreed, like 3 identical young women showing up to clean my house. They stood in companionable silence, watching snow transform the world into something new and pure. You know, Emma said finally, when we took Mum's cleaning job that day, we were just trying to keep her from losing a client. William smiled. And instead, you found your purpose, your future. More than that, Emma corrected gently. We found our past, the connection that was always there waiting to be discovered. From inside came the soft sounds of Ellie playing the piano, Caroline's favorite nocturne, which Sarah had been teaching her. Life isn't linear, William reflected. It's more like music, themes repeating, motifs returning when you least expect them. Speaking of unexpected, Emma said, Mom mentioned you've been spending a lot of time together outside Foundation. Work. William's expression softened. Margaret understands loss in a way few people do, and she reminds me to look forward, not back. She deserves happiness, Emma said. You both do. As if summoned by their conversation, Margaret appeared at the doorway. It's freezing out here. Come inside before you catch your death. Her nurse's tone made them both laugh and obey immediately. Inside, surrounded by the family fate had assembled through extraordinary circumstances, Margaret Mitchell, once a struggling single mother, now the heart of 2 interwoven families, lifted her mug in a final toast. To cleaning day, she said with a wink. William took her hand, his expression serene. The day everything changed. No, Margaret corrected gently. The day everything finally fell into place. Outside, the first light of Christmas morning touched the eastern sky, promising, as all new days do, that the greatest gifts often arrive in the most ordinary moments, wrapped not in paper, but in possibility.